Hello everybody and welcome along to One Hub Racing. This is season 14, sponsored by Next Level Racing. And welcome to the next episode of the monthly talk show. We're going to talk briefly about the last 4 races, which was Spain, Monaco, Canada and France. But the main things we're going to be talking about is the team transfers that happened in the mid-season break, as well as the title contenders. I am Jess, your usual host for the talk show, and I'm usually joined by a commentator. This time it's another reserve, and I've joined him in the commentary box for quite a few races this season. It is Liam, a podium tier driver. Welcome, Liam.
Thanks, Jess. It'll be interesting to give my opinion on the last couple of races and some of the driver transfers that have happened recently.
Yes, we've got all 4 tiers to talk about. Some have had more driver transfers than others, but we are going to talk about them anyway. So we're going to start with the podium tier, which I think had the least. I think Prestige and Podium had the least transfers out of all the tiers, but we'll start with Podium. First of all was Renault, which was Ols got dropped from Renault originally, and no one wanted the Renault seat that Ols got replaced in, so he kept his seat, and then he was ill, so he has resigned from Renault and has resigned from One Hub Racing. So which is a shame, I've got to say. Out of the races he has done, he's got points. He did get points in the first 2 races that he took part in, and obviously obviously from round 3 onwards he didn't take part. But I wonder what could have been for Ols if he took part in the remaining races, really.
I've been Ols' teammate this season, and I've spoken to him a few times because I was speaking to him last season as well. But he's a good lad. He's a great driver as well. He's a good teammate to have. He done well in the first 2 races he's had. He's just been unfortunately out through illness, and he won't be taking part. But I think if he did, he'd probably bring home a solid amount of points for Renault over the course of the season.
Yeah, and I think he probably wouldn't have been dropped entirely if he did turn up. But again, things happen. It's a shame that he was ill or anything like that. But there's not much to say about him, really. Wish him best of luck in the future. And you never know, we may see him return towards the end of the season or maybe next season. Who knows? And the next big transfer in the podium tier, and I think you're going to talk about this in a minute because you were the one who got his seat. It was Charlie that left Red Bull due to his poor performance. That the team, the head boss, thought that that Charlie didn't produce much performances. He got the only points that he got was in the 4th round in Baku. All the others have been no points finishes or did not finish. So, what do you think the other reason why Charlie might have been dropped from Red Bull?
I think the reason, in my opinion, why the reason Charlie got dropped was probably due to his inconsistent results. Because he's had good results here and there over the first 7 or 8 races of the season. He's just been unlucky at times, but some of the team bosses can be a bit ruthless, and especially the big teams, they kind of demand. They kind of expect good results from you, but being kind of inconsistent isn't what they're really looking for.
Yeah, if you're in one of the small teams, even if you finish quite low, you might be still learning, you might be still getting used to the lead, but the top teams definitely expect a lot more from you. So I'm looking at the team contracts page, and for the big teams, both drivers have got to finish in the top 6. And Charlie hasn't done that much this season, so he's already violated the contract for that. And even though he's been communicating with the team and he's been taking part in the interviews and he's attended quite a lot of the races, he's just not where he was expected in terms of being one of the top teams. Everyone wants to be in Red Bull because obviously Red Bull did win the Constructors last season overall. So he had a lot to live up to, and I'm guessing he didn't fit up to the pressure.
Yeah, I think it might be that. I think it's just maybe because he's still adjusting to the league a little, so maybe Red Bull was a bit too big of a step to start off with. But I think now that he's moved to Renault, he's going to have a lot more room to breathe, and they'll give him a much bigger chance to improve himself as a driver.
And since Charlie has left, obviously being dropped from Red Bull, there was a few people that, well, there was actually one person that wanted his spot, and the good news that he has taken it, and is Liam, you you vacated Renault and decided that you want the challenge in Red Bull. So let me ask you something. Why Red Bull? Why do you wanted that challenge to be one of the top teams?
Well, obviously I've been with Renault for the past couple of seasons, and Renault have been absolutely amazing to me, but I think since now that I've noticed that seat was available, I think I wanted to push myself a little more, just to see if I'd be able to cut it in one of the bigger teams. But I definitely wouldn't rule out a return to Renault, but the Red Bull seat is just too big of an opportunity to miss out on.
Yes, and I do believe this is your third season in One Hub.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you kind of wanted to see what a different team was like as well. But it was high. It is high expectations. Obviously, you haven't raced on Friday night in France because you couldn't make it. But
yeah.
What are you hoping for next week? Are you gonna hope you're gonna fit the criteria right away, or are you gonna try and adjust first because you got quite a bit of time to get used to it, maybe?
Yeah, I definitely think there'll be a small adjustment period to adjust to the new surroundings at Red Bull, but I definitely want to try and match their expectations as quick as possible, really.
That would be good. And your teammate is Gaza, and Gaza's pulling off some great performances there. How do you think Gaza would help you in a way? To try and help you adjust? Do you think he would help you, or would he concentrate on his own performance, knowing the Red Bull situation?
Well, knowing Gaza, I think he definitely helped me try to adjust a little first, because that's just the type of guy he is. But he'll definitely push me to perform quite a bit at Red Bull, so I'm definitely up for the challenge that he offers. So we'll wait and see how things pan out.
Yes, and usually at this stage we talk about if they've done well, the transfers have worked out in the first race, but obviously either Charlie or you has raced in the first race back, so can't really talk about that.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait next to see in Austria. I'm a bit shocked about one driver that didn't get transferred onto another team was Azamata. Now Azamata, he's in a Mercedes, he still is. He just kept his seat, I think mainly due to raw pace alone and due to the fact he's quite quick. But it was mainly a few tough decisions due to the fact of the crashes that he took part in Baku and also possibly in the pre-season races as well. A few drivers not liking the style of driving, but he was in danger, but I'm guessing this is going to be a wake-up call that he was so close to not getting a Mercedes seat.
Yeah, obviously he hasn't had the best of seasons so far, but I think it might have just been down to a bit of bad luck, and I'm pretty sure he was starting himself to adjust to no assists. So it could be down to that as well, but I definitely think he is a quick driver, and on his day, if he doesn't make any mistakes, he is one of the top drivers in podium tier without a doubt.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that, to be honest. But unfortunately, on Friday night in France, in the latest race, he did retire because he was the only one who did retire out of all the other podium tier drivers. So that was a shame, to be honest, but I think it just goes to show for the other drivers they've kept it a little bit cleaner, and there was no other retirements in France. But I think on his good day, like you said, he's got the pace, but I think he just needs to put his money where his mouth is and try and think smarter about his moves.
I wouldn't necessarily say he needs to think smarter about some of his moves. I think he could be a bit more patient. Patience is definitely something you could have a slight bit more at, and just not rushing into things. Just take your time and try and be as smooth and clean as possible. Obviously, it's not possible sometimes, but still, he should hopefully learn from these first 8 races that obviously you can't expect to be absolutely on flying all the time, and you're about to have some off days at times, but still, I imagine he will go home.
He's had about 5 DNFs, I think. Yeah, he had 5 DNF, well, 6 DNFs now. But where he's finished, he's got a podium. So surely, I think after his advice he's learnt from the talk show today, he should be absolutely fine. So we've talked about the driver transfers. Let's talk about the title contenders. The title contender I must talk about is Iceman. Another race win in France. And he obviously won in Spain as well and came second in Monaco. He must be feeling on top of the world. He had a shaky first half of the season so far. But the middle half of the season, he's been doing absolutely great.
Yeah, at the start of the season, I don't know, I kind of underestimated Iceman a little bit. I obviously knew he was a quick driver, but looking at how fast the likes of Zepenudo and Aaron were at the start of the season, I thought, I don't think anybody could compare to these two. But Iceman's definitely proven himself to be one of those drivers that can take it to those guys on the.
Yeah, I was impressed with his Monaco performance, especially. Even though he came second, he just kept it on the track and tried to avoid incidents when he can. And just to be honest, he just kept it together and kept his money where his mouth is. So if he keeps those performances up, I'm sure he's going to have good results coming up as well. And he's an Irishman as well. And I like Irish people. Okay. Same as I like Scottish people. I shouldn't have said that, but hey ho, I really should be unbiased because I am one of the members of the management team now. But anyway, yeah, he's got to keep his form up. But there are some times where drivers do become a bit complacent. Do you think Iceman is one of those drivers that may get a bit complacent after his good form, or would he just concentrate on a race-by-race basis?
I definitely don't think that Iceman is one of those drivers who gets complacent. I think he just focuses on each race as it comes. Doesn't let his past results get to him too much. That's what I like about him. He's able to just blank out what happened in past races to an extent and just completely focus on what he has in front of the race coming up.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to see him what he has got coming up for the next few races, because he's got Austria next, and Austria, I love this track, and Iceman loves this track as well, so I can predict some good results. Aaron as well, another title contender. He was on contention for the win. One of the moves he made on Friday night was absolutely amazing, but there was one race where he had a bit of drop in form, and that was in Monaco. But like we said, it is Monaco. It is really hard to survive in Monaco, especially if you're on the bottom tier as well. And that was where we saw the pace really drop down a bit, and he kind of shocked me that he wasn't challenging for the top positions. But that was because he got caught up a little bit as well. And I did see on Friday night he got caught up with Riley a little bit as well, where Aaron could have been in contention for the race victory as well. So another person who I think needs to be careful and be more consistent, because at the moment he's about second or third in the championship, but he needs to step up and try and get involved in less incidents to make sure that he can still be in the title fight in races to come.
Yeah, obviously he had that off race at Monaco, but like you said, it is Monaco. The unexpected happens there, but he's definitely shown he has the pace to challenge for the title. But depending on whether or not he can keep out of the incidents or not, it could really come down to that decides his championship hopes, just the pure amount of incidents he's in.
Yeah, I got to agree with that, I must say. And one of the other biggest shocks of the season so far, Eva Hannon took his first win in Monaco of all places. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to get the win in Monaco. When I saw the results and was watching the stream, I was like, what? Is that really him? But he was just faultless. He was doing absolutely amazing. And if anyone wants to win a race, it's their home Grand Prix at Monaco. He's already completed one of them this season. Obviously, there's no home race for the Finnish drivers, but he has done. He's done one for one. He's won in Monaco, and he's starting to boost his confidence up a little bit from Spain onwards. I think he's been getting podiums after podiums, and I'm just going to check to see where he was on Friday night as well. He was 10th, but he's still got some points. So he's been scoring points consistently, and that's what you need in a championship: consistent results.
Yeah, like you said, consistent results are everything, and that's basically what Eva Hanlon's done all season. He's been consistent as he can be, basically. He's took his opportunities when they've come. It's like in Canada, he had an almost race-long battle with the two Williams cars and still came out ahead of them.
Yeah, I enjoyed that battle with Eva Hannon in Canada. It looked like he was racing on glue for a minute there, so props to him. And Zappadoodle had a very good start to the season, but the last few races it was about 2 races out of the 4 races just gone where he dropped down a little bit and he started to make a few mistakes which I wasn't expecting. He finished 7th on Friday night and he DNF'd in Monaco, but again it's Monaco. But apart from that, he's been scoring pretty much podiums nearly pretty much every race. Bearing in mind he gets up really early on Saturday morning to get to do the races, because obviously he's Australian, but he still produces consistent results again, and I think he's still leading the championship, but after Iceman's good form, he's got some work to do.
Yeah, Zappadoodle's obviously had a drop-off in like 1 or 2 races, but these kind of things can usually happen over the course of a season. It's something that that is, I don't know how to say it, like almost like it wouldn't hurt that much. It's almost guaranteed to happen. It doesn't hurt your chances too much. These things are almost guaranteed to happen over the course of the season. So if this is him getting it out of the way now, then maybe he could possibly be up there for the rest of the season. If not, maybe have like a slight down drop in performance, like once or twice. But I don't see much getting in his way for the rest of the season.
Yeah, well, I think so as well. You can check the other standings for the podium tier on the website, and I may put it on the video as well, so you can check what everyone else has got up to. SD Mats as well, getting a few podiums and a few top 5 finishes. Foggy didn't have a second good mid half of the season. Gaza as well. Obviously, Gaza didn't make a few races this season, but again, he's got a few top 5 finishes. And obviously, we talked about Charlie, and Thunder Phoenix did not finish. But we would talk about all the drivers, but we would be there all day. And we also had a moment where we were talking about, the commentators were talking about what was people's favourite type of pizza, because obviously Peter Parker and Pizza got Driver of the Day nomination, which Peter did quite well as well. He was a shocker as well in France last night, and he got 15 points in Monaco as well. So Peter Parker is starting to come back. He's not consistent, but when he performs, he performs he shocks people, which is very important.
Yeah, Peter Parker's been one of those almost like dark horses in the podium tier this season. You never know what he's going to do. I think one race he could be really off it, and then the next race he's just out of nowhere. Like, he's got really amazing pace and could be almost on the podium.
Yeah.
He's been like that ever since he came in Baku. He's just been up and down, but It's been mostly unpredictable results for him, but he's still put on a really good show so far.
And he definitely impressed the bosses, because otherwise he wouldn't have stayed at his current team. So again, he was close on Friday night in France as well for the podium. So guy that he didn't get that podium in the end, because it would have been really nice, but he did well anyway. So that is enough for the podium tier, and we're going to be talking next about the tier that had the most driver transfers out of anyone. But again, I think we can safely agree. I think it is what's best for the tier. It is the precision tier. There was about 6 driver transfers, which that was just crazy. That was just crazy. And even after the mid-season break, even after a few races, there's been some drivers that have been involved in incident after incident after incident, and these drivers can't afford to cause incidents like that every race, because otherwise it's going to ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, precision tier's just been one of those. It's just been that crazy tier basically this season. It's just mental what goes on in that tier these days.
I actually commentated on one of them. It was the first time I commentated on precision, and that was in Spain. And even that was crazy. I was like, what on earth was going on? But there was some great battles though. Get me wrong, there's been some great battles in precision. Like there was good battles in Monaco between the top drivers, which that was brilliant. But there was just some drivers that think they could just get away with some incidents, and that's probably why a few people have packed their bags for one team and then gone to something else. One of which is Scorpion. Scorpion was in the Red Bull. The team bosses again were not happy, so Red Bull are getting a bit harsher at the moment, just like Gasly and Albon and stuff like that. So White Fountain's been doing very well. Scorpion hasn't. He hasn't been challenging the Ferraris as much as he would have liked, and Red Bull really needed another person to challenge the Ferraris, and I think Scorpion just hasn't done that in precision.
Yeah, unlike because you look at his teammate White Fountain, who's almost been utterly dominant in the precision tier.
Should be Pinnacle.
Scorpion's just that driver who's been unfortunate of his luck so far this season, in my opinion. He's had a really bad start to the season. The first third of the season hasn't been that great for him. He's been almost the complete opposite of his teammate, but I think this move away from Red Bull should allow him to rebuild his confidence as a driver.
He was 11th in the standing before France, and he's been getting points here and there, which if he was in Williams, Williams would have kept him, or McLaren, or something like that. But again, like we said earlier on, Red Bull expects drivers to be in the top 6, at least, and he hasn't been able to achieve that in some races, which is a shame considering how White Fountain has been quite dominant pretty much for the whole season, whereas Scorpion just doesn't follow.
Dominant.
Yeah, very dominant. And I think the main reason why Ferrari has been so ahead before the mid-season transfers happened was because that both Chris and Lukey have been able to produce good results. Both of those were able to get wins. So, and Chris,
that's
Chris' performance in Spain, he came from last to like second. So I was not expecting that. And then obviously Lukey got the win in France. Was on Friday night, and he also got the win in Monaco as well, of all places. So he's got 2 wins. Chris has got 1, and a few podiums here and there as well. Scorpion just hasn't achieved that. He hasn't got any podiums compared to his other rivals. So I wonder if it is. I wonder if the person who's being replaced at Red Bull will do better. We'll see.
Yeah, obviously it's going to come down to the constructors after all. That's what the team's looking out for, and that's definitely the benefit Ferrari have had, is having 2 drivers up there consistently race after race, whereas Red Bull have really only had White Fountain. And
Yeah.
Scorpion's just been a bit all over the place, really. So I think it's the logical move for Red Bull, but it's definitely unfortunate on Scorpion.
Yeah, and the team that he is going to go to is the McLaren, and McLaren expect quite less from the Red Bull, but not as much really. If I look at the McLaren team contract, it's the same as obviously Alfa Romeo and Sauber, both drivers to finish in top 12. He's a person that I think can do that, and I think that's why the bosses thought that he would be a good fit there. So even if he does the same in McLaren to what he did in Red Bull, he'll be just fine in McLaren. But I'm guessing this might be the break he needs to try and help him score some more points.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the move to McLaren is definitely giving him some more leeway when it comes to his results. Like, since they're only expecting like a top 12 finish, I definitely think that'll suit him for maybe up until the next break, next mid-season break, or maybe till the end of the season. I'll not allow him to worry about his seat, he'll just allow him to go out and focus on his driving for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and if he focuses more on his driving, I think he should be absolutely fine with no problems at all. But he finished 11th on Friday in his new team, but he started 6th as well. So even though he might not be happy with that, if the main objective is to finish in the top 12 consistently, he is doing that. So he's not letting his team down just yet. And there was a few times where he got caught up in some instances as well. So I'm guessing he might be still getting adjusted to his team, but Austria is where we can see him truly shine, I think.
Yeah, Austria is definitely a more, how do I say it, friendly track on the drivers. Whereas France is basically like a driver's worst nightmare with the track limits and just how confusing the layout is. Austria is one of those tracks where it just allows you, which just has one of those track layouts that you can just, that flows perfectly. Basically, it's no hassle at all. It's just one of those racetracks that everybody likes, basically.
Yes, and I think another person who got moved to another team due to his poor performance was Vittin in the Mercedes. He was just, to be honest, he's been one of those drivers. Apart from his podium in Spain, I can't take away the podium from Spain. He's most of the time he's had DNFs, and he's been one of the people that has caused quite a lot of incidents in the position tier. And the Mercedes team are one of the top teams. They're pretty much the top team in real life. And if the Mercedes want to be constructors, they can't afford to have someone like Vittin who is constantly involved in those incidents. And I think even the head of media, Odense, was predicting Vittin to be dropped, one of the first people to be dropped, and he has. And he's now in the Williams. The worst possible situation. He's gone from the best team to the worst team. So I'm guessing that must be a huge confidence blow. He even got a race ban in France, so he wasn't allowed to race in France. So I wonder what will his outing be at Williams be. He's got to get out of all those incidents and make sure he thinks smarter, because in other leagues he has had a few issues as well. He is getting better in those leagues, but in one hub he just again needs to put his money where his mouth is, and then he can start challenging for good points. But yeah, from Mercedes to Williams, that is just annoying for him, but I'm sure he can come back stronger soon.
Yeah, Vittin's one of those drivers who, on his day, give or take, there's no instance that he's involved in, is definitely one of the outright fastest drivers in the tier, who could push for the victories every week. But his problem is that he's just too inconsistent. That's held him back all season. Apart from his podium in Spain, that's just what's been holding him back. is his lack of consistency. But he's still a really good, quick driver. He's just been unfortunate at times. But the move to Williams, as big of a downgrade as it is, will definitely give him, like the rest of them who've been moved down, more breathing space and allow him to just focus on his racing, basically, improve his own pace.
And as a few commentators were pointing out for the last few races now, especially Brett as well, would you rather focus on position or race pace? If I was a driver, I would focus on the race pace. Make sure the race pace is there to score consistently each week, then focus on position. I nearly said precision there. Well, technically, yeah, you can focus on precision, but anyway, race pace and racecraft is key first before you start fighting for good results, and that's what Spitton needs to do to score high up there.
Yeah, that's basically it's his biggest weakness, but if he's able to fix it, if he's able to fix his inconsistency, I think he could be one of the top drivers out there.
Yeah, and I wish you the best of luck with his team as well. So we'll go through the ones who replaced Scorpion and Zach at the respective teams. So one of which is Simon, who was, I believe, let me just check what team he was before. Simon was in the Alpha, and now he's moved to one of the top teams in the Red Bull. And to be honest, that was well deserved from Simon. Simon is one of those drivers who has really impressed the Red Bull team bosses, and that's why they brought him in. He's got a few podiums. He's only had one DNF, but every other place he's got point, and he's finished. So that is what Red Bull wants, and he was fourth in the championship as well. So I'm guessing Red Bull were very quick. As soon as Simon signed up to Red Bull, they were very quick to try and get him on board to help White Fountain win the Constructors.
Yeah, obviously having someone that quick outside of the top three teams and doing that well so far this season, and seeing them apply for that Red Bull seat, they're obviously going to snap him up as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And based on how he's performing this season, so far this season, I don't see why he wouldn't be the perfect partner for White Fountain for the rest of the season to take the challenge to Ferrari.
And he was able to match his teammate in the French Grand Prix as well. Again, they were both caught up in incidents, but they had similar pace in terms of fastest lap as well, which was impressive. And that is what a team wants, to have similar pace. So Simon is looking very promising in the Red Bull seat already in his first race back in a new team. So I think his team will be pretty impressed with his performance on Friday night, I think, in Red Bull.
Yeah, having a good day, getting off to a good start on your debut is obviously what the team are looking for, and I think after that Red Bull are going to be basically over the moon with their driver choice for the rest of the season.
Yes, so well done to Simon. And replacing Simon in the Alpha seat is obviously Baboon J. I can't remember if he chose to go to that seat or if he got moved down, but I think he might have got moved down, I don't know, but correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, Baboon J was in the McLaren, and he's had I think he's had 2 points so far this season. The rest he hasn't scored any or DNF. So I would say going to Alpha may have been a risky situation. But again, McLaren and Alpha are kind of like on the same wavelength in terms of what they expect. So I'm guessing it's not a huge challenge, but I'm guessing he just wants a fresher car, a new team, and a new teammate, because Alpha and McLaren having similar expectations, he's gonna try and settle in the best that they can, I think.
Yeah, I think it might have been a mutual decision for Baboon J's leaving of McLaren. I think they might have been looking for someone else to take the team forward, and obviously Baboon J must have been looking for a change of scenery. So hopefully he gets that at Alfa Romeo, but given that the have basically the same expectations. He's going to be forced to perform straight away.
Yeah, I think so as well. Because if you're getting to a higher team than usual, you would expect to be perform that much higher pressure. But Baboon J has got to put his money where his mouth is and start getting some more points. Because if he doesn't perform at Alpha, he might get sent to Williams, and nobody wants to be at Williams. I think, but Williams on this game, an equal card is not too bad personally. But again, some people don't like that. So I guess Baboon J just wants to avoid Williams at all costs and try and keep his seat in Alpha as much as possible. But he didn't get to a good start. His teammate Yor got 5th. He got 13th. So, yeah, I think he needs to perform better. But again, it's a first race in a new team. It may be just the environment.
Yeah, obviously no one wants to go to Williams. I know some people say that as a downgrade, but personally I see it as a way to boost your confidence going to a lower team. Puts less pressure on yourself and allows you to just go out and do the best you can basically every week without having any pressure on you.
Yeah.
And obviously knowing that Babunji hasn't done very well on his debut, that might give him the little kick he needs to step it up that little bit, just to settle in a bit more.
Yeah, he's got a few races to do that. The next mid-season break is Christmas. That is when the next mid-driver transfers happen. And so that means they've got a month and a bit to make sure show what he can do in his new team, basically. And we got Zach in the Renault. He's got transferred into the Renault from the Williams. I was quite surprised about Zach, to be honest, going into a higher team than he was, because most of the time he is DNF. So I wonder why maybe the team bosses went for him to Renault. Maybe because he wanted to give him a more of a boost, maybe in a higher team. Despite the fact he is second last in the championship, he's, I think, the only person apart from the Spaniard who hasn't scored any points. He's got a lot to live up to in Renault, I think, and Renault has probably taken a bit of a gamble, but we'll see.
Yeah, obviously it's a big gamble from Renault, but obviously I think they might have seen something in him, I don't know. But him being in a lower team and getting moved up to somewhere to like Renault, I think that's obviously going to be a massive confidence boost, showing that even though he hasn't done too well, that they still believe in him to get the job done.
Can't wait to see how he does in the rest of the season. He DNF'd again last night, but I think it's one of those things where he maybe didn't like the track. He may have better tracks. We'll have to wait and see. We'll find out in Austria to see what happens. And the final transfer we got to talk about is who replaced Vitin at Mercedes, and it was TK out of all people. So TK, I'm just going to check where TK was originally. TK was in the Renault and he's moved to Mercedes, the top dog. So TK was P6, and his biggest performance was, I talked about it in the last talk show, as well as TB. But TK, he got second place in Baku, and I'm guessing after seeing what he did in Baku and getting points in all the other races, maybe that's why they want to make sure that they've got someone that hasn't got any DNFs. Well, he's only got a few DNFs. I gave you wrong, but he hasn't scored as many DNFs as Vitin had. So I'm sure TK is going to do a good job, and maybe he might find the handling of the Mercedes much better.
Yeah, TK. Well, I found a quote from TK. He said it's either Mercedes or Red Bull for him. He's saying the current second drivers at those teams were a bit too slow and inconsistent compared to him. So I think, I don't know. I think that he's saying that because he's been the more consistent driver than the other two, I think he says he'd be a better fit at those teams to help them boost their constructors fight.
Yeah, and I agree, and I wonder if we'll see TK get the chance to put the money where the mouth is, to be honest. So he was one of the ones who was in the likely replacement of that team, and they were right in getting that team. So nice to see TK getting the team he wants, and I'll give him a boost going the end of the season. And I think we've talked about all the transfers, and let's talk about let's talk about the top three. It is White Fountain versus the two Ferraris, I must say, in terms of the precision title anyway. Every single one of those people have got wins. They're all race premium drivers. White Fountain's already up there. He's had a blipper result in France, but he got caught up in incidents. I might have got to say about that, but it's gonna be really close between the top three to see who will get that title. And I think White Fountain would hope his teammate will back him up a bit, because otherwise Chris and Lukey might close up to him like bare hands.
Yeah, I think if Simon and White Fountain have a good get on well with each other, I think they could definitely, if they work together well and not see each other as championship threats, and they work well together, they could definitely secure the do their best to secure the constructors for Red Bull. Considering the two Ferraris have done so well together so far this season, I wouldn't put it too far against them to try and rile both Red Bulls up, to try and use that as their advantage, hopefully, maybe.
Yeah, because the last few seasons, I got to admit, Ferrari hasn't done well in any tier. So it's nice and refreshing to see the Ferraris up there catching to the Red Bulls at the top. And I think it's mainly down to someone getting good results in the past. They're wanting a challenge in a higher team, and they've chosen a good teammate as well. And whoever did that's made the right choice on their teammate. And I think, to be honest, you want a teammate that wants to push you as much as you can. And Lukey and Chris has just done that perfectly this season.
Yeah, you obviously want a teammate that you get along well with, and someone who's definitely able to push you just to perform that at that extra level needed to go for a championship.
Sorry.
Considering the likes of the Ferraris have been a perfect example of it this season. They've both pushed each other absolutely to the right amount to get the best out of each other. And hopefully White Fountain, I'll be hoping Simon could do the same to him, and White Fountain could do the same to Simon.
Yeah, I hope so as well. And I think for some of these guys, it might have given the shaken up that they deserve, but there's always been the same people, again, like I said, being involved in incidents. And I would like to leave one advice to the position drivers who always keep caught up in incidents. I think they've got to focus on their racecraft. They've got to focus that it's not one in lap one, turn one. And they just got to be mindful of other drivers and just not take people out on purpose, because it's going to ruin people's races. And a lot of people have quit tiers like this in other leagues due to the fact that it was toxic. So we can't let position go like that, really. They just got to improve quite a lot, because I've seen most weeks precision has had the most incidents out of all the other tiers. Some other tiers have either had one or nothing at all. So Position needs to step up the game a little bit. I did say to the management I would be a bit harsh on Position this podcast, and I delivered there. So, yeah, what do you think they need to do to make sure that they're not the toxiest tier in one hub, and make sure that they are up to level of all the other tiers? Because the other tiers are definitely improving.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you've said so far. and I think it's just the fact that they need to learn to keep out of the incidents as much as possible, because incidents are definitely what's going to cost you the race.
And also to make sure that they just look at the incidents carefully and see, right, what can I do to make sure I don't get involved in them? Because some of them blame themselves. I'm not going to go too much more into it because they're probably going to get into an argument with me in the position chat, and we don't want to do that. So as long as they
No,
put their money...
considering from what I've heard, precision chat is bad enough.
Yeah, so I don't want to cause any more arguments. So hopefully we'll see an improvement for precision next week. I do know that there has been some things going on that we are trying to improve on the racecraft on precision, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I can't wait to see particularly the top three how they do as well, and hopefully the other guys do improve as well. So that's position done for you, which I think's taken double the amount of time that Podium has, because obviously Podium only had a few driver transfers. Precision
And
had quite a
precision is
lot.
just mental.
Yeah, so we're 46, we're about 45 minutes in, and we just finished precision. So that's precision for you. Props to the precision commentators. I mean, I don't know how these guys commentate them on them every week due to those instances. So props to Owen, props to Austin, who did a few precision races this season, and Sean as well. And can I count myself into that equation?
Well, considering you've done one race, I think you can.
Yeah, but that was it. There was still quite a lot of instances, but I've seen worse than Spain,
Yeah.
so it wasn't too bad. But it just started to get a bit worse from the second half. But anyway, enough on precision. Let's go to Pinnacle, and I've got to say, Pinnacle's a dark horse tier. It's one of those races each week that I absolutely enjoy each week. The commentators love it, we love it, and obviously the viewers love it as well. And it is a very close title fight between pretty much the top four. So these last four races, it definitely goes to show that it's not just Leon that's in this. It's the likes of Legend, the likes of Ollie, the likes of Westy, and James Slater as well. I may as well talk about the title contenders early on since I'm talking about it. But
Yeah.
these five have done pretty well. We've had a few DNFs from quite a few of them, but whenever they have not had DNFs, they scored some good points. So who has been the standout out of these five in terms of consistency, do you think?
Well, I obviously think that they're all like amazing. They're all like the top drivers in their tier. I get that, and in my opinion, I think they're basically just all that consistent. It's hard to choose between them. So in my opinion, I couldn't really pick anybody considering it's been that close so far this season.
Yeah, and it is hard to pick, to be honest, because one race we see Leon up there, and then another race he's had a DNF, and then someone else was able to pick up the pieces, and that's what I like about it. And Leon has had the most wins with 4, and we had Legend take 1 win. Ollie took 1 win with the fast. Actually, Ollie's taken 2 wins. With Ollie with that great win in Monaco. I mean, Ollie has done. When Leon failed, Ollie picked up the piece really, and showed what he could do. So I think Ollie is improving from where he was at the start. At the few other races this season and last season as well. I think he just goes to show that if he keeps this up, he could definitely be on the cards on getting a prestige seat next season. I think that's what his motivation is at the moment, to score highly in Pinnacle.
Yeah, obviously some of these drivers in Pinnacle tier will be looking to take that step up to prestige maybe at the end of the season or in a couple of seasons' time. Because that's obviously at the top. Like, obviously it's the top tier and people
always
want
want
to
to
be
go.
in that. These guys will want to be in that tier quite badly, so they can prove themselves against the top drivers.
Pinnacle's like
So
Formula 2, in a way. It's kind of like the junior tier to Prestige. And the Prestige bosses will be looking at the Pinnacle drivers very closely, because if they're not performing well, they'll either get dropped to another tier, or they will have to stay where they are. But the likes of the top guys, if they keep this up, they can we can see them in Prestige next season, which is what I think quite a lot of people that performed well in Pinnacle have been dropped from Prestige. So I'm guessing the motivation was there to begin with, to try and get back up there, but we'll see anyway.
yeah, obviously I kind of get what you mean by it being the F2, but we've also seen people take the jump from lower tiers as well, straight up to Prestige. But it is a lot of pressure to put yourself under to try and get yourself into that top tier, obviously. But I wouldn't put it, the likes of Leon and that, I wouldn't put it past him to try and get in it. And if he doesn't, then oh well, it's not the end of the world. He can always try again. It's not like he's got what is it? It's not like he's desperate to try and get in. He could obviously bide his time, and when the right opportunity comes, he could pounce and try and take that seat.
Yeah, because he was a Prestige last season, and when I was speaking to him, he didn't mind going to Pinnacle this season. He wasn't that bothered, which I was quite surprised with. I thought if I was someone for Prestige that got dropped down to Pinnacle, I'd be like, what the hell's going on? So I think Leon has just taken it like ducks to water and really helped him. So enough about
Yeah, he's just taken it on the chin and really used it. He's used his experience in Prestige in the past to push himself even harder this season, so he can possibly get back up there next season. But don't quote me on this.
Yeah, I won't quote you on this, don't worry. So, enough about the title contenders. Let's talk about the driver transfers, and we still have quite a few. It was one of those transfers that weren't decided early on. It took a while to get all the final driver transfers sorted, but we finally got a driver transfers sorted for this tier. So, first of all, we're going to talk about Minty, who has been dropped from Red Bull and he is now in the Haas seat. But there has been some conversation that maybe Minty might have not proved his worth properly in the team. That he might have didn't have a chance to show what he could do at a top team, because when he's finished, he's got points, and obviously he missed a few races as well. So, but again, it is not just about what race you take part in, it's also about attendance. If you can't make races and you're in a top team, then it's not going to give the team much confidence that you're going to deliver. And I think that in hindsight, as well as that DNF, that's probably why Minty has been dropped to the Haas team.
Yeah, obviously Minty might believe he hasn't had the chance to prove himself at Red Bull, but like you said, the top teams don't really take it lightly when you're missing certain races. And I know that he joined, I think it was in China or something, so he never had the same amount of races as everybody else. But just because of how harsh the top teams they are, and I know Mint is a good driver, but still, the top teams demand that you show up and prove your worth, but he hasn't really had the chance to show up. Just missed a couple of races.
That's one of the criteria to make sure you attend most of the races in Red Bull. And that's probably one of the underlying factors. But being a Haas, I think out of all the teams in one hub, again with Williams, that's the team that they don't want to be in. And I think that would disappoint him a little bit. But he didn't get off to a... well, I can't remember if he did race last night or not. Yes, he did. He didn't get off to a good start, but he finished 12th, I believe, last time about in France. So again, at least he finished. He did get a few penalties here and there. He's just finding his feet a little bit, and hopefully he can try and get back up to where he was and help Haas get a few more points.
Yeah, obviously it looks like he's still finding his feet, so maybe that drop from Red Bull might not be too great on his confidence. But and I know Haas isn't one of the most desirable teams out there, but still, it's an opportunity to just prove yourself, just to show how good you are, basically.
Yeah, I hope Minty does well at Haas because he hasn't had the chance to prove himself, and maybe there might have been tracks that he couldn't have made it, that he could have shone, but we'll never know because the race has already happened and it's been and gone. So hopefully Minty will do well. And another person that's been dropped from his team and going into the Haas as well is Bagbones. He was in McLaren and now he's moved up. He's moved down to Haas with Minty. So yeah, I'm guessing Haas is one of those teams at one hub where you get put into if you don't do well. And I haven't seen what Bagbones has done much this season because we haven't talked about him in previous talk shows, but he's only got 2 points. That is not what a midfield team would want from a midfield driver, and was probably the reason why Bagbones got moved down to Haas as well.
Yeah, obviously, considering where he was at previously, and obviously I know that the mid-table teams are quite strict, but not as strict as the top teams, but they still do demand that you perform and bring home points to help them with their constructors battle. So considering that he hasn't done too well, only brought home 2 points, it is kind of only logical for him to get moved down into that seat. But obviously, like Minty, he will get a chance to just show how good he is now.
And due to the fact that both of them got moved down, they're kind of like on the same wavelength, and maybe that could push them to get on well with each other and work together a little bit more. Maybe they could get along as well and maybe become new best mates, as it were, because they've got similar qualities and similar pace. Because I like a teammate, like we said, for a Ferrari, who has similar pace than me, because you're probably going to perform better if you have a teammate which has similar pace. So I can't wait to see what Minty and Bagbones do together.
Yeah, same here. I think this could be the forming of a good partnership at Haas. So maybe this will now, considering they've both gone through the same thing, but with Minty being dropped from Red Bull and Bagbones being dropped as well by a mid-table team, they'll obviously both know what it's like to be dropped from their team and how difficult it is just to prove yourself in this tier. So hopefully they just use that as motivation to prove themselves to the rest of the teams.
I would if I was in that situation, but I will never know because I've never been in one hub. So we've talked about Haas, and we are going to talk about the big guns. I do believe it was Minty that was in Red Bull, and I'm not surprised that this person has done this. Legend has moved from Racing Point to Red Bull, and to be honest, another smart move from Red Bull, taking one of the championship contenders to a top team is pretty much, I think I've got to say, it's one of the smartest team transfers I have seen out of all the tiers. They have Legend wanted to sign up to a top team. Guess what? He's got it. And Red Bull again has snapped. And I think that's going to help. That's going to boost Red Bull. And again, James is performing quite well as well. That could be the boost that James needs to have a teammate that can push him right to the limit, as Legend has been doing all season.
Yeah, looking at Red Bull's previous transfers, it obviously looks like they have an eye out on these drivers and are just snapping them up as they come. They've had an absolutely outrageous transfer window so far, picking up some solid drivers.
I think apart from Prestige, Red Bull has changed drivers. Yeah. I think Odems and Blizzard, I think, are the only two teammates I'll go to Prestige in a minute, but they're the only two that haven't changed Red Bull. They've kept their lineup. they performed very well together, and maybe this is something that Red Bull can learn from Pinnacle, perhaps.
Yeah, I obviously know that Odems and Blizzard have always been those two guys that have always stuck with Red Bull for ages. And I really think that Red Bull are learning from having these two guys in the same team. That obviously that having two great drivers is able to just boost your team even more and push each driver to perform at their absolute peak.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Legend is one of those drivers that, like we said, definitely a title contender. He's had a win. Red Bull wants to help him get another win, and that would definitely boost his confidence level, because Minty wasn't able to do that. And I feel like Legend will be the person to get Red Bull's first win of the season.
Yeah, I think this could be the beginning of another great partnership at Red Bull this season, so we'll wait and see going forwards how this turns out.
Yeah, I hope this partnership goes well, because I can already predict it's going to go well. So well done to that. And Leroy has switched to Racing Point to take up Legend slot. And what a debut from Leroy last night. He's moved to a new team and he's won. He won on this new team, and he got pole as well. So he's one of those, I think he's the only driver that's moved to a new team and has shocked everyone. And it's a midfield team at that. So props to Leroy. I think he got one of the Driver of the Day nominations as well. So I wasn't expecting Racing Point to get a win from Leroy, but I think Leroy is continuing where Legend has finished off at Racing Point. So again, Racing Point has snatched another good driver in the Constructors' title. So I think Racing Point were very lucky.
Yeah, I think some teams have been very smart with the driver transfers, considering that you don't get a better debut than getting pole and a win on your debut race for your new team.
He didn't get fastest lap though. He didn't get fastest lap, but still, he still won. He got the most points out of everyone. And he had no mistakes at all. He was just amazing, and I'm quite surprised if he keeps his form up, the top teams will want to snatch him. But I'm just going to check, where did Leroy was in Haas, so I'm guessing he had enough of Haas and wanted to go to a higher team. Which, to be honest, I'm glad Leroy made the decision that he wanted to go higher up. And I wonder, if he keeps his form up, would he want to go to a higher team in Racing Point, or would he be happy staying in Racing Point for the rest of the season?
If I was in his situation, depending on how his form was for the rest of the season, if he can keep up his form like it was on Friday, and just push himself that little bit further to perform, and I don't see why he couldn't just worm his way into like one of the top teams like Mercedes. I think they could definitely be keeping an eye out on him, depending on how well he does in the next couple of races for the next break. So I'd keep an eye out on him just to see how it does.
Christmas is the next break, so
maybe that could be an early Christmas present for him.
That would be good. That would be good. To see someone that's in a midfield team performing well, and then early Christmas present, boom, they get put into a top team. That will just be amazing. So Leroy on his debut, I think Racing Point will be very pleased with that. Already performing above expectations. That is what you want. So a few other points for the Pinnacle driver transfers. I think the final point actually. And obviously we've had Bagbones that was in McLaren, and he's been replaced by Skeven in the other McLaren to hopefully take the Constructors fight to another level, because Ollie has scored the most points out of the McLaren boys in the Pinnacle tier, obviously, whereas Bagbones only scored 2. And I haven't seen Skeven has scored less compared to Bagbones, but I'm guessing he wants a bit more of a challenge, maybe. But I think he started, I believe, in Monaco. That's probably why. But
Honestly, we'll need to wait and see how the rest of the season goes, obviously. We can't really predict anything that's going to happen, so
no, we can't.
we might have to just sit back and wait and see how the rest of the season unfolds for these guys.
I know.
Hopefully it'll be great for them and they're able to prove themselves as the top drivers or solid drivers. Maybe somebody could pick them up at some point. Never know.
I know the commentators will be keeping a close eye on those as well. So I think obviously Leon has done quite well this season. Legend Ollie Westy's been getting a lot of form as well. So but again, Westy's in a top team. So again, he's been kept in Ferrari just like most of the other tiers have been, which is great to see, which is helpful for Ferrari in the constructors battle. And
Ferrari seem to be very happy with their drivers so far this season.
I think there has been any changes at Ferrari. I think they've kept their whole driver lineup by the looks of things. Yeah, they have. I think Ferrari is the only top team to keep all their drivers. And that, I think, Liam, is saying something, isn't it?
Yeah, because in the past few seasons we have seen that Ferrari really aren't the greatest. Haven't been the greatest in the last couple of seasons, but considering that how well they've done this season, how good they've been so far this season in all the tiers, and showing how happy they are with their current drivers at the moment, I think this shows that Ferrari are kind of taking that next step up to show that they can just take the fight to everyone else.
They're leading the constructors in podium and precision. I'm just going to try and see about Pinnacle. They're second in Pinnacle, and I believe that they're in prestige. They're getting close up to the top as well. So imagine if it was a full constructors with all four tiers together. I think Ferrari would have been right up there, right at the top.
Yeah, I think if that was to happen, Ferrari would be basically over the moon if that happens, because that's just something that's really difficult to have one team win all four championships when you over the course of a 21 race season when anything can happen.
We shall see. We shall see. We shall wait until the season progresses. That's it for Pinnacle tier. We're now going to move on to the final tier, which is Prestige. And I think that is a tier where we've seen the least driver transfers, which I think it just proves the fact that Prestige has been one of the cleanest tiers I have seen since, season 13 was quite dirty and less of a turnout than normal, but I think Prestige has been a lot better, and it just goes to show why there's only been one driver transfer in the Prestige tier.
Yeah, Keane was dropped by McLaren due to him having not the greatest of results so far this season, which I think I think it was the team's decision, although he might have had input in it. I'm not too sure.
It was the team's decision, but then he wasn't happy with it, so he left.
Yeah, we've also had we've also seen that possibly Samster could be getting dropped by Renault, but they've decided to stick with what they have and kept faith in Samster for the rest of the so far this season.
Yeah, Samster. He was starting to have the pace before, like during quali night and when he was practicing before the season started. But he was one of those drivers where he's been under the radar, and he even got a disqualification in Monaco. Don't know how that happened. But
might have cut too many corners.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. And it is quite easy to get points in Monaco, and he's obviously had a few DNFs. I'm quite shocked that he didn't get transferred as well, but I don't know. It was one of the bigger shocks, to be honest. But maybe this could be a learning curve for him. This could be a step and say, right, I'm still in Renault. I need to prove myself now.
Yeah, I like the fact that Rhino have decided to stick with Samstar instead of replacing him. It shows that they do believe in him and they know he has the pace going forwards.
Yeah, which I think he has. He is obviously the league coordinator of Prestige, but again, they don't work with each other in terms of driver transfers. The team bosses do. None of the coordinators have any say about driver transfers, just to let you guys know, just to clear things up a little bit there. And I think Samster, was the only one of the league coordinators that almost got affected by the driver transfer, but didn't. So he was very, very, very lucky there, to be honest with you. So I think there hasn't been many driver transfers. We can talk about another person that was so close in getting dropped by Haas, and I was quite shocked as well. And it was Brettster. But if it wasn't for that, before I said that when I was commentating on the French Grand Prix on Friday, if it wasn't that for that great performance in Canada, Haas would have said, he would have said bye-bye, and he would have probably gone to Williams. So I think Brettster is showing signs of improvement there, which is great to see.
Yeah, obviously hasn't had the greatest of seasons so far, but that result in Canada has showed what he really is capable of when he is given the chance. So I think Haas deciding to keep him was definitely best. To allow him to just hopefully forget about what's happened in the first part of the season and just move on.
Yeah, and he was on minus points due to his donuts in the preseason race, but he's on 2 points now. So nobody's on the minuses. Hooray! That's good. That's good for Brett. So that's a good confidence boost, and he didn't have high hopes for last race, his first race back, but it looked like he had a lot of fun. But we will see how this goes at the rest of the season.
Yeah, he had a good race. He had a good race on his return. He looked like he enjoyed it. So we'll wait and see how the rest of his season unfolds. I've got faith in him that he'll do his best and probably bring home some brilliant results for that Haas team. Maybe get moved up.
He needs some strong results to prove that Haas made the right decision in keeping him. So Haas expect quite low anyway, and I think Brettster was just given one more. I'm not surprised if Brettster was given an ultimatum. If it was like, right, if you don't perform well in Canada, that's it, you're out of there.
If you don't perform well in Canada, it's Williams. If you do, we'll keep faith in you for the rest of the season.
Yeah, which is what they did. So that is good. So props in keeping him for that. So I think there's not really much to talk about in Prestige apart from
the title challengers.
The title challengers, yeah, and it's been close this season. Out of all the other Prestige seasons, it was, I think, at one point Odoms was in there, but I've got to say...
So was Wayne, I believe.
So was Wayne as well, but obviously Wayne quit. He left Mercedes, which was sad, and it was gutting, to be honest with you. But I've got to say, if I think I agree, it's now down to three people. Louis, Onyx, and Blizzard, I got to say. So, especially Louis, he's still keeping up his form a little bit. And even if he qualifies low, he still finishes in the top 3. So he is a GOAT on this game, like I've said in all the other talk shows.
Louis is one of those alien drivers who just somehow has that mental pace week in, week out. But Blizzard is showing that even though he didn't have the greatest starts, now that he's adjusting to the wheel, I believe.
Yeah, he is.
So, yeah, considering he was on the pad before, adjusting to the wheel is going to be a big challenge for him, but he's definitely showing signs of his previous pace. Now, further into the season, he's getting used to that wheel now, so maybe he could challenge Louis.
Yeah, I think so as well, because Blizzard has had 3 obviously Blizzard had 3 second places, and recently he got moved to a different esports team. He didn't move One Hub teams, but he moved to a different esports team, CRG, and I still don't know why it happened. But again, I can see why CRG took the decision in doing that, and why Blizzard wanted a fresh start. And I think that worked for him, because on Friday night, he got his first win in One Hub since Season 13. We were hoping he was going to get that win someday, and he did it in style, and he did it in the soft to medium strategy of all places, which I think I think there was one point when I was commenting, I was like, was he going to make it? Is he going to make it on those mediums? But he did, and he started, I think, third or fourth. I can't remember where he qualified, but it was nice. It was nice to see Blizzard back on the top step again.
Yeah, I think the old Blizzard might be coming back now, so maybe...
Watch out!
Just maybe he could... Louis might have to watch his rear end a bit more now. Even though Louis had this alien pace so far this season, but Blizzard is showing signs that he's back to his best, and maybe even better.
Yeah. And I think Louis would want a person that would really want to push him, and I think Blizzard is the person that is doing that at the moment as well. So I think Louis just doesn't want to fly away with himself. I think he wants a fight, and he's gonna get that fight. So props to Blizzard for that, and obviously he got my driver of the day vote because he was able to make that strategy work. So. Hopefully he can keep that up for the rest of the season. And one that has been challenging Onyx, one has been challenging Louis for most of the season as well, is Onyx. He's got 2 wins in a row in Monaco and in Canada. I think he got a P3 on Friday night, but again, that's still on the podium. And Onyx has been brilliant as of late to try and get into the top, because... He's been in the top 3 a few races, and he's got 8 points in one race, and he didn't finish another race. But we're starting to see him coming back to show why he's in prestige tier, and he's been able to challenge for wins, and he's in the Williams team as well. And I think he wanted to stay in that Williams seat, I think, mainly because he has less pressure on himself.
The pressure isn't on him as much. Yeah, it's just... There's not too much expectation from the team, it's just his own expectations, so that might be enough for him, I'm not sure. But he has certainly looked really quick, and maybe I'm hoping that this freeway title fight goes down to the wire.
I hope so. I pray to God that it does, and I want to see the likes of Paris and Odems go into there as well. Paris was involved in a few incidents on Friday night, but Paris on his day, he's only a few points behind Blizzard, I think, before France. He's on his day, he would produce good results, so he could be up there. Odems is pretty close as well, so...
Odems is another really quick driver. He's just inconsistent a bit at times. Sometimes he's inconsistent, and then he'll have a really good run of races, and then the next 2 races he might drop off slightly.
Yeah, there is sometimes where sometimes he can get good results. Like obviously he won in Bahrain, his first win in a while, and obviously he got a win in China as well. And
I believe I was commentating Bahrain with you when he won that battle with Louis.
Yeah, and we predicted we were interviewing him in the grid walk, I remember, weren't we? And we kind of said, I think Odems is going to win that one, and I was hoping I didn't jinx him, and I didn't, and he won. So I was pretty impressed with that. He had good form at the start of the season, but as of late, he hasn't been performing. I think Monaco he got 6 points, and in Spain he got 12 points, and obviously he didn't make the last 2 races. But is it too late to say he's out of this, or do you think he'll still be in this title fight?
Knowing Odems, he is one of those drivers who does take pride in how quick he is, so I wouldn't count him out just yet. I think he might go and put in he might be putting a lot more practice. just so he can bounce back even stronger now.
He's got quite a bit of races to do it as well. We're not even at the halfway point of the season yet. The halfway point of the season is Britain, so he's got way more races to show what he can do, and I think Odems can do that. And I think you can find all the other standings on the One Hub website from Canada, I believe. They usually don't update France until Thursday, so make sure you keep an eye on that. Wow, that is it then for the monthly talk show. Another long episode, but we got to make sure we didn't talk about much of the 4 races in general. I think we just talked about everyone's performances from the last 4 races, including the driver transfers and the title contenders. We didn't have time to talk about all the drivers, but it would have been
here all night.
Yeah, we would have been here all night. It would have been a 2-hour episode, and you guys probably would have complained that you would be up too late to either go to school or to work or anything like that the next day. So, but we've had a lot of fun anyway. Did you have a lot of fun today?
Yeah, it's definitely a change to just commentating, but still it is great to have the hindsight of everything that's happened over the past month, and just to be able to just get it all off, what you think and how you think the season's gone for certain people so far, instead of just a race by race, but having a good chunk of races to base it off of.
Yeah,
is definitely a big help.
And it's been a pleasure you joining me, because I'm used to commentating with you if Alex Lilliart can't make it, and it's just great just to have a friendly chat with you, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice change to having to commentate on the races.
Yeah, it's more relaxing, I've got to say. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks, Liam, for coming on. We will get another...
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we will have another commentator that will be joining us in about 4 or 5 weeks' time, as we will cover the next 4 races, which will be Austria, Britain, Germany and Hungary. Hopefully I've got this right, because otherwise I'll be like a complete fool. But anyway, hope you enjoy the rest of the week. Make sure you check out the other races in Austria starting this week. And don't forget to check out Next Level Racing as well, with using the code 1HUB10 when you're buying all their products. So I've been JessGames95, Liam's been Liam. Have a good evening, and we will see you in 4 weeks' time for the next episode of the monthly talk show. Good night.